Welcome to the Collecting Keys Real Estate Investing Podcast.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to episode 40 of the Collecting Keys Real Estate Investing Podcast.
We're gonna be. I know. Is that how you say it? Is that how you say it?
Yeah, yes.
Hola. Is that in Spain?
Yeah,
Spanish?
that's you're very cultured. We're back after a little bit of a recording hiatus. I've been traveling for the last 2 weeks and a bit. I was over in Spain for a wedding, and I'm glad that Dan has been rehearsing his Spanish for me to come back, making me feel at home, because after 2 weeks in Spain, I'm now a local. I think that's how people tend to treat places like that.
I always love the episode of The Office where Michael Scott comes back with like the little dreadlock in his hair from like a week at Sandals in Jamaica. I feel like that's what you came back like. Yeah, like a little bit of a tan, speaking Spanish.
I'm just trying to blend in, man. I'll be honest though. When we were, because we were pretty like sort of in the sticks in Spain, because we went down there for a wedding. My uncle was marrying a local Spanish lady in this town that's like kind of off the beaten path. So most places you go over there, people speak English. Like, we were in Barcelona for a little bit. That's like a very sort of international people, lots of English being spoken. Mm-hmm. We went to this little town, Antequera, and not a lot of English at all, and like a lot of the family on her side only spoke Spanish, which I kind of felt bad about, because like they wanted to have a conversation with us and we just couldn't. But, you start to pick up like little things, and you start just like saying words in Spanish, even though we were only there for a couple of weeks. And on the way back, we did a little bit of stopover in London. And I mean, it took me 3 or 4 transactions at like bars and stuff to not say like gracias to people, it becomes ingrained so quickly,
So are you the guy that goes to Azteca in Spokane here and says like gracias, cerveza, and you start speaking Spanish?
Well, yeah, I'm just trying to be, respectful,
culturally sensitive to the high school kid that's your server there.
Exactly. That has never met a Spanish speaking person in his life.
Yeah. Man. No, that's interesting though. Like I that's the one of the languages like proper Spanish that I think I envision myself my life learning, because it is a super translatable across multiple countries. Mm-hmm. Italian is very similar to Spanish and all that sort of stuff. And so I'm like, that's the one I should learn. I've heard it's easy, and then I could go to Mexico and order beers.
Well, and you could hear what all like the people at the hotels are saying about you.
Exactly. Exactly.
But no, it was good though. Good to get away for a couple of weeks. It was been still recovering from the jet lag. I've been back for 4 days now, but like that jump across the pond always kind of wears on you. But yeah, it was good, and we had a really good time. Super fun wedding, traditional Spanish wedding. So the ceremony was at like 9, and dinner was at like 10:30, and then the party went from like 11:30 to 4 a.m. But at that point, we were all kind of acclimated to that sort of time schedule that they all live on over there. So even my parents, my dad's in his mid 70s, and they were still partying at 2:30 in the morning, man. So I was quite impressed, actually.
The only way I can make that work, I'm trying to do the mental math in my head. Was it like a 9 hour difference over there?
Yeah, something like that. 9, I don't know.
Man, that's the only way I can make that work. If the math works out, there's no way I would be partying at 2:30 in the morning.
Yeah, I mean, you adjust to it pretty quick, though. I mean, because like even if you want to go to dinner there, like when we were out in Barcelona, it was like the second or third night, we were looking to place to go for dinner, and like a third of the places opened at 8, and if you went there at 8, there was nobody there, and a lot of places didn't even open until 9 or 9:30.
That's amazing. Wow.
It's like the doors are locked, and like we were out, and a couple nights it was like 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. There's people out pushing their kids in strollers. Kids are like running around doing shit. That's just how it operates.
Man, you can't be doing that in the States. You get shot.
I know, right? Yeah, people will like mug you, abusing your child. So yeah, it was good. Super fun experience.
Yeah, that's cool.
And I was like just getting out, and it was also interesting as well too, because you're flying over there, all the COVID stuff, the airlines, like you have to do all these tests. You have to like get this app, get this QR code. We literally landed in Barcelona, dude. And there's like, oh, you need to go this way to get your COVID thing checked. And there's literally just a guy standing there, just like pointing where the baggage claim is, just like going like this. Didn't even like look at a single thing. And I was
really?
like, well, didn't even look at it. You just like sort of showed him your phone. He's like, yep, you're fine. Go for it. Didn't scan it. Didn't do any of the stuff they were supposed to do.
Wow.
And then over there, no masks, no anything, no COVID protocols. Like the only protocol they had is if you're in like a taxi, you're supposed to wear a mask, but all the drivers were like, "Oh, my windows are tinted. Don't worry about it."
Is COVID still a thing? I mean, I've kind of forgotten about it. Like for a while, it was like looming as like, oh man, they're going to make us mask up again. In international travel, they kind of talked about it, but it sounds like it's like not really a concern. Like if there's like another wave of COVID, we're just going to be like, whatever, dude.
Yeah. Well, I mean, also difference over there, main Europe and the UK, the vaccination rate's like wicked high. It's like 90-something%. So they're just.
I don't think that matters though.
I mean, it definitely does. I mean, like people that I know that have had their shots that have gotten sick, they definitely get better, way better than those that haven't.
Like recovery, right? It's not going to stop.
Yeah, recovery. It's not going to stop it. But like, so there was a wedding. One of my college friends got married while I was gone. I missed his wedding to go to my uncle's wedding in Spain instead. And a bunch of people got sick there. And my friends that had gotten their shot were better in like 48 hours. And other people were wrecked for like a week and a half. Oof. So something there. But
I haven't had COVID in a long time, so I'm pretty sure it's gone.
See, I never got it. I'm just not as cool as you, I guess. Yeah.
You got to have it, dude.
I mean, I feel like I'm missing out at this point.
It still can't smell right. That was like 2 years ago, a year ago.
I mean, but that's from all the fumes you used to breathe in your mouth.
Yeah, my huffing days.
It's a brain damage. Yeah, it's fine.
Well, while you're gone, the business didn't stop. We still kind of conducted business as usual, got contracts signed. Mm-hmm. Buyers are being a little weird. As a lot of people are experiencing. The biggest thing.
Yeah, I was talking to one of our main competitors here in Spokane yesterday, and they were saying that it's like moving product right now is just weird, like super weird. Mm-hmm. And I mean, we've seen it with some of our competitors I don't necessarily talk to, but I see the dispo emails doing real shady stuff as well. Right. I mean, one of them had like a $65,000 price drop on a deal they sent out 3 weeks ago. It's like, so now you're either screwing the seller or you were trying to be real dirty on that dispo. If you have and it was on like a $250,000 house. It's like,
that's a lot. That's a huge percentage.
That's a huge percentage on the deal, right? It's like 30%.
Right.
So, they're doing that. And then they sent out another one I saw. Be funny if they listen to this because I'll know who they are now. That they're trying to dispo for like 179. That they were trying to dispo for 199 like 3 weeks ago, and I checked the records. They actually bought it for like 176. They're trying to sell it for 179. So I don't know if they've got themselves into a shitty situation or what, but that's looking a little hairy there. And also, if it's that close, don't freaking buy it.
Yeah,
like I'm all good for ethics and those sort of things, but don't screw yourself.
Yeah. Unless you have a different exit on it, maybe you want to park some money in a rental property or something like that. Yeah. I'm wondering. I'm curious how long this will last. Maybe it's temporary while people are trying to figure things out, and then all of a sudden there will be a new market norm, and maybe that's by the end of the year, and there will be certain people that aren't buyers anymore, but then your normal buyers will be buying again at a normal rate. It'll just be probably whatever that new market norm is. But I think we're just kind of figuring it out right now.
Well, I think the big thing is, the main people that are still buying are like the big time flippers, mm-hmm. right? And like the proper businesses, but at the same time, they're also marketing for their own deals. Yeah. So they're also running into the same situations that we are, where it's like, hey, they're getting these contracts, they're not able to move them. So now all of the money they would have traditionally bought other people's deals for, they're now having to buy their own because they can't assign any of them, right? But all of like the mom and pop flippers that we'll buy like 1 or 2 deals a year that we're buying over the last few years. They've all put the brakes on because they consume the same mainstream media as like, a lot of the sellers and stuff do, which is just fear. And so now those people, they're not going to be risking anything if they're only doing 1 deal a year. They'll just wait for something. I don't know what the hell they're going to wait for, but either way, they're going to put the brakes on. Well, they need another like 8-year market cycle where they sit there on the sidelines for 8 years and have fear of missing out. Then they decide to like jump in, and then they start.
It's like all the folks that, I can't believe, you're buying houses right now. You're buying at the top of the market. You're buying at the top of the market. People had said that for several years and during like one of the best economic expansions we've had in U.S. history. And they say, well, I'm just going to wait for the market to crash. I'll be buying everything. It's like, where are you guys at now? They're not buying.
Yeah, well, the market hasn't crashed. It's slowed down.
But in their terms, This is the opportunity they're waiting for. This is the buy opportunity because things are softening up, right? Like, and this is a time that you can maybe put in some more competitive offers that will get accepted because you don't have the frenzy of people buying things right now. And so this is like kind of a more of a buy opportunity. It's shifting towards a buyer's market on the retail side of things. And I think it's going to shift that way on the off market side of things for a while. And so I just strongly believe that those folks that were waiting for the market to crash, so to speak, still are not going to be buyers when the market is softening and when the market is in a decline, because they'll have 10 times the excuses of why they're not buying right now than they had when they were trying to buy or saying that they couldn't buy during one of the best national expansions we've ever had, economically speaking.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it's just like that with everything though, right? Whether it's stocks, real estate. I mean, I remember when I first got out of school, 2013, 2014, people were talking about how the stock market was going to crash.
Oh yeah.
That was
peaked
like 7 years ago now, 8 years ago, like a long time ago. And they're saying that about real estate as well. As it was like on the recovery, like even 2019, 2020, people were like, oh man, prices have gone up a lot since, 2008. Well, it's like, well, now they're way more than that.
Totally.
Yeah. Point being, like, when it comes to real estate, if you're buying at a discount, make sure you always have multiple exits and make sure that, you're actually buying at a good price, and be prepared to hold it for a long term if you need to. That's what we've been telling our instant investor guys is, a different spin on it. Just make sure that if you're, you're going to buy it to flip or you're looking to wholesale it, that you do have a different exit. So you're at least not wasting the opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah. Just don't over leverage. And, if you can financially sustain holding on to one property, don't go buy 3.
Yeah.
If you're trying to flip properties, right? Because, and if you're a bigger player, like, maybe us, we're not going to be holding on to more properties than we'd want to negative or flat cash flow if we had to. Or that we had to leave, say, not that we'd even be negative cash flow, but that we'd have to leave, say, $7,500, $1,000 in. Like, we're not going to do that for a bunch of properties. Are we going to do that for a couple? Yeah, we'll do that. And we'll sustain it because we know in the long term is the best decision.
Yeah. Yeah. Just being more selective. And then, on all those sort of things. I mean, like it is a long-term game at the end of it, because I mean, like we talked about earlier, that it's easy to get addicted to the money you make on the transactions, but the real eye opener for both of us in the past year was when we did cash out refinances on our personal rentals that we own. And we pulled out like very significant amounts of money, completely tax-free.
Absolutely. Yeah. That tax-free money is huge. And then if it's a decent asset, why can't you do that several times?
Right.
Over a 10, 12-year period.
Yeah, which I already have. So like one of my ones in fact, one or maybe two of the ones I cash out refied in November, I'd already done that once before.
Right.
So
yeah,
like I did that back in like late 2020 as well. And then late 2021, I did it again.
Yep.
Like,
I mean, it's definitely cheaper. It's harder to do if you're not in like a flat or declining interest rate. Like if interest rates are going up, you definitely don't want to be doing it. But like, it's not the end of the world if you had to. But it's certainly one of those things that if you can avoid a taxable event, but also access that equity, that's like the power of real estate. If you're just selling properties and you have to pay taxes on it, or you're 1031ing everything into like, but when you do 1031, you sometimes get into deals you don't want to be in just to avoid the taxes. And so like that all kind of sucks. But like if you have a good asset, a solid asset, and you can do cash out refinances several times through the life of that asset, oh man, that's great.
Yeah. I mean, well, that's the whole Robert Kiyosaki thing though, right? Is, you live off of the debt that you pull on these properties. It's always tax-free. So basically your life is paid for by the cash flow that you get. But a lot of people, I think that's where they look at cash flow kind of funnily, is they think like, I'm gonna have these rentals that make $500 a month in cash flow, that's what I'm gonna live off of. It's like, no, realistically what you want to do is hold on to it for long enough that you have a huge equity position, right? And you have a little bit of cash flow coming off, but you have enough room on that cash flow that when you go and you pull out $500,000 from that asset, it's still going to pay for that, but you don't have to pay any taxes on that $500,000. Right. You can use that $500,000 to go and do life-changing stuff.
Yep. Like go to Spain for 2 weeks.
Exactly. Right.
Life-changing.
Yeah. Am I gonna lie? We flew first class. It was great. But and I think the big thing with a lot of people right now, if you are hesitant to be purchasing or, making sort of drastic moves. Positioning yourself in a place for when, you do feel more comfortable is pretty huge, right? So like, like a lot of people right now are dealing with interest rates being poor, not having good rapport with sellers, not be able to have good conversations, those sort of things. But for us, we don't necessarily have those problems because we spent the last couple of years building out basically like our company and like a reputation that exists amongst the investor community. It exists amongst sellers in the area. We talk to a lot of sellers who are familiar with us. They've been retargeted by our online ads. They've seen our marketing before. They know all those sort of things. For us going and getting a loan, everyone's saying like, oh, don't expect a loan, a rental loan for less than 6.5%, 6.25%. I mean, we just bought a our 6-unit property, which bought is at what, 5% with our lender that we have a relationship with, because we have this brand and this business recognition. So making that kind of your priority in the immediate, where you're trying to sort of wait for things to settle, I think can be huge. And even like basic stuff that you can still do that will build towards that tangible view, like get a professional website done, move away from that janky carrot website that looks exactly the same as everyone else's. Go and get one professional. Work on getting Facebook ads up and running, work on getting some Google ads up and running so that people sort of see your brand recognition. Work on marketing material so it's a little bit more unique than just like the templated stuff you've been sending out. All those sort of things, that over time is what's going to give you the advantage in these sort of markets, because you're going to get more opportunities, right? And you're going to be able to buy stuff a little bit better. And that's kind of my segue though to our educational thing that we're going to talk about.
Yeah, maybe let's break those down here in segments, into sections, and chat about each one and like how you would go about building that brand within those segments. Cause I think you had just highlighted quite a few different areas. One is your peers and your other investors within your community. One is your customer base. Like how have you built that brand with them? Online presence, that's a different brand, because you're looking a lot of times at a different customer base when you have an online brand, because the people looking at your website, like if you look at we'll stop there. Let's just, let's transition and talk about these individually before I get too deep in them.
Perfect. Yeah. So either way, so quick few comments about the Instant Investor Program. And then when we come back, we're going to talk about, especially in these times right now, how to build that brand, how to go about it the right way, how to not do it, and why this is a great time to be doing that. So cool. We'll be right back. The Instant Investor Program is our 12-week group coaching program, which includes a self-driven course and access to our private investor community. We will take you through the full process of how we find our leads, how we market, how we do our sales and follow-up, and how we determine the best strategy for every opportunity that comes our way. On top of that, you will also join a community of other like-minded investors nationwide that are all marching towards the same goals, and you will have direct access to Dan and myself, so you can continue learning and growing with us as we continue to adapt and grow our business. So whether you're a new investor or already established, our systems can help take you to the next level. So if you think you might be a good fit, go to theinstantinvestorprogram.com and schedule a call, and we can have you talking to motivated leads in as little as 2 weeks. All right. So building a real estate investment brand. There's so many different ways to go about it. There's ways that you can do it that are overcomplicated. There's ways you can do it that are, oversimplified, I would say. But, when it comes down to it, what I would say, if you're like fresh, don't necessarily make this your priority, because you need to get good at talking to sellers and learning the sales process first. But if you're kind of somebody that is doing deals, you're having good conversation on a regular basis, but you find that you're constantly losing out to other investors, or you're not getting a good response rate on your marketing or things like that compared to other people you talk to, getting a brand established is going to make a huge difference over that. Like in those situations, because you're going to have more credibility, with sellers, right? With other investors that you're trying to sell properties to, with realtors in the area, with lenders, with people that want to invest money with you, like you name it. If you can go and say like, this is my company, this is my website, professionally built, it's all done right, you can get, a lot farther with those sort of things than you're just like, hi, my name's Mike and I'm trying to buy houses. Like my sort of,
I would say too, like, don't discount it as the new investor though, that because brand is built over time.
Yeah.
So there are little things you can do as you're going, but don't go out there and spend a bunch of money on like a super great website, build all this like high-end marketing materials that's brand specific. But things you can do is like, hey, if you are talking to people and working with sellers, get a Google review.
Yeah,
Like if you wait a year to do that and you've done 12 deals in that year, you just miss out on 12, the little number in the parentheses next to your 5-star review of 12, right? And like,
yeah,
I know when I go shopping online or I'm looking for like a local vendor and I see one that's got 2 Google reviews and they're like a 4.5 star, but I see one that's like 450 Google reviews and it's a 5-star, I'm likely going to go towards that one because 450 people reviewed it.
exactly. Yeah. And that's huge. And I guess just to backtrack, I'm saying if you're getting started, don't not be doing the hard things like talking to sellers and that sort of stuff
Yes.
because you feel like you need to build a website first.
Yeah. And that's kind of our mantra with how we coach our students and stuff is, yeah, don't get so tied up in like this idea of building your brand and your business and forget that you need to start marketing to people and you need to start talking to sellers because that's where you're going to make your money.
Exactly. And I mean, we've been in several other groups where, people start with like building the brand and there's like a huge number of people that come in and they never even get past that because they get stuck on like,
Yeah.
well, all the names that I wanted are already taken. It's like,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
then I
Yeah. I can't
mean,
get an LLC in that name. And
exactly. I
I
was
don't
like,
like the
oh,
logo.
yeah, for sure. I can't get my URL. It's like, well, sorry, all
Yeah.
the good URLs were taken like 6 years ago.
And you can change all that stuff as you go. You can, doesn't matter, right? Like let's just start talking to sellers. And why don't you get paid to build your brand as opposed to paying to build your brand?
Correct. Yeah, exactly. Right. And that's
Mhm.
super key. And as you're going through that process, that's something else that people tend to get caught up on is they try to do so much of it themselves, especially when you're starting out, you don't have a lot of money, but you can like every aspect of that from making a logo to making a website to doing your copy, to doing everything. It's so easy to find people, particularly overseas, to go and do it. Like I
Right.
think it was an episode that came out, episode 39 was about virtual assistants. Just go listen to that one that came out last week and find a virtual assistant or someone on Fiverr to make that logo for you. It'll cost you like 15
Simple.
bucks,
Yeah.
and it'll be
Nothing.
better than what you do. The one ask I have is don't accept a freaking logo, which is like a roof with like a window,
That's what they all do.
which is like every single company and they
Yeah.
all look terrible and they all look
Yeah.
the same,
Yeah. Exactly.
come up with something a little bit more unique. And then, I mean, on that same line, like our business, in hindsight, I wish we had a slightly more unique name. If you can come up with something that's like memorable to people that isn't like, Mike and Dan properties, like, I don't know, like some of the good ones we've seen that I like, and some of the groups are in like baby back rehabs,
That one is awesome.
or that's an
That's so
awesome,
cool.
like the property penguin, right?
Yeah.
Like, one that has something that is distinguishable to people. Cause if it's the property penguin versus MD properties versus home buyer deluxe versus whatever, like that one's going to stick with people a little bit more.
Totally.
Right.
Yeah.
Cause it has something that they immediately can visualize. So
Right.
approaching it with that sort of a view of like, what would you remember if you were in their shoes?
So as far as branding goes, like maybe let's start with the digital brand and kind of the brand you're presenting to your sellers. And I would like to finish maybe talk about the local investor, your brand within your local investor, because I think that's really important. But I would like to like kind of build up to that.
Yeah. Yeah. So, they're all kind of one and the same. If you look at it from being memorable, right? Like any, if you're going to be memorable across all those fronts, it's going to do you the best. But
Consistent too, right? Don't be different
yeah,
across the platforms.
that's very true. Because we do see that sometimes. Like we've known people that have had like buying, I guess, sort of businesses that they use other acquisitions, then just like selling ones they try to use for their dispositions, but that tends to create a lot of confusion with people.
Right.
So when you're going through it, the message and everything kind of needs to be the same. The material can be similar. But I guess the way that you interact with people is going to be a little bit different, So when you build your website, for example, you definitely want to cater it towards sellers, because the first thing people are going to do when they go and they get your, your mail or your letters, they talk to you, they're going to go and look you up online. Everyone's going to do that the second they get anything. So if you have a good professional presence online that a seller can see, that's going to make a big difference. And, there's a lot of different turnkey websites you can get. The Carrot, there's one called Lead Propeller that will give you a really basic website. Those are basically like the made for TV sort of versions of like a website. They're really cheap. They all look the same. They are very limited in customization. If you're willing to spend like a couple $100 to go and get a custom website made, it's going to make a pretty big difference in that.
So Carrot's big selling point though is it's easy, it's turnkey, it's relatively cheap, and they talk about SEO and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, but
Is
that's
that
like
an
the biggest.
advantage?
No, it's like the biggest scam because SEO, right? Search engine optimization for Google. I mean, it makes sense if you. So basically, what the whole point is, it's supposed to have copy that Google looks for and favors when people like look up, sell my house, Spokane, whatever.
Right.
But the thing is, when you have 9 or 10 people in your market that have the exact same website and copy, it's a freaking waste. Like
Right.
if they capped it at like one website per market, that'd be fine, but they don't.
Right.
And
well,
like
it's kind of funny when you have the same blog post on your website that your competitor does.
And they all do, because that's the other thing that they offer is like, oh yeah, you pay an extra $100 a month and we'll post these blogs for you. And it's like, cool. Well, so are the other 10 businesses in your market. So y'all have an exact same website, which creates a weird thing, And something else too with this that we find is pretty common with investors is, I think, because they're embarrassed about, making low offers and that sort of thing, they kind of tried to hide behind their brand. But don't be afraid to put your photo on there. Like honestly, if you're that worried about sellers finding out who you are, you're probably not approaching things the right way.
Totally. Yeah. If you're worried about ethics or something like that, you're doing it the wrong way. Which some people, when they're first getting into it, especially if they started out as like an agent or a broker, they get into that. Like they're worried about that brand and they're worried about like that brand hurting their listing side of things. And then also some getting awkward around like what they're legally able to do as a realtor versus off market stuff, which those are valid concerns. But they have this weird vibe about it, or this weird mental state where it's like, yeah, if you're approaching it the way you think that you should be approaching it, you're probably doing it the wrong way.
Yeah.
But if you're running your business ethically and you're doing the right thing for everybody involved in the transaction, you're probably not going to need to worry about that.
Yeah.
I don't personally worry about it.
Yeah. And exactly. And then on that same note, by putting your name and stuff out there and your photo and all those sort of things, it makes you that much more credible to the seller because they know who you're talking to, and not only you, but like you want to have your salespeople. If you have an acquisitions person, absolutely put them on your website, because if James calls them and they look on the website and there's no James, they're like, well, who the hell am I talking to?
Right.
Right.
And a lot of these sellers tend to be a little skittish around that sort of stuff for whatever reason. So that does help your brand a ton. Having your face out there, having your name out there.
Yeah. So, so that's super seller facing. And then when it comes to social media and those sort of things, one of the biggest mistakes I think people make is they use social media as a way that they like are trying to get a lot of followers, and they try to like make this like interesting content on social media. It's like, I hate to say it, but your customers, your motivated sellers, they're not going to follow you on social media as like a fan. And then all of a sudden they're like, you know what? I should sell my house to these people. That's never how it's going to work. You can use that for like kind of like a buyer presence, right? If you want buyers to sort of see stuff that you're doing a little bit, but realistically, the best use for social media is for retargeting. So there's a lot of different ways you get into it. It gets kind of complex, but basically what you can do is you can create ads that are shown to people after they visited your website that show up on like social media and Instagram. And that's the best way that you can use social media for marketing and so.
So do you put like a Facebook pixel on your website? What do you do?
Exactly. So yeah, very basically, if you go and Google like how to install a Facebook pixel on my website, you can find stuff that gets into this. But you go in, then when someone goes to your website, they get a cookie on their computer from that Facebook pixel. And now Facebook and Instagram, they're going to be seeing your business all over the place. And that just reinforces the concept they say of people need to be exposed to you 7 times before they're willing to have a conversation. And what is it, like 17 to 21 times before they're willing to do business?
Yeah.
So, if you're competing with a bunch of people, a bunch of other businesses, and, they go into all the websites and then they go on their social media afterwards, and you're the only one that they're seeing over and over and over again, they're going to be more likely to do business with you because you're going to be fresh on their mind.
Yeah.
It's just like how if you're like, I want to buy a new tent, whatever, and you go and you look it up, and all of a sudden you're getting hit with ads for that tent from Amazon and everything.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you see it 7 times, and I'm telling you, I'm more likely to buy it.
Exactly.
It's
right.
So true.
Yeah. So that's, for marketing purposes, don't, and brand purposes, don't spend a bunch of time making a bunch of sexy social media content for your wholesaling business. No one cares. Like, you might get some likes from buyers and things like that, but it might make you more memorable if you're trying to be a dispo shop, something like that, but it's not going to be a major cornerstone for your business, and it's going to be a large distraction over anything else.
Right.
And then when it comes to marketing towards buyers, I mean, the biggest thing is on like dispo material and things like that. If people recognize your brand from that, and they see you as someone that is sending out a lot of opportunities, and they recognize as you and your company being someone that brings a lot of opportunities, they're going to trust you more.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's just like if you're going to buy a widget, you know, you're going to buy it from Amazon, or you're going to buy it from, you know, widgetsupplycompany.com.
Right.
Right. You're going to more likely buy it from Amazon, even though, you know, widgetsupplyproperty.com probably, whatever the hell I said, probably sells their stuff through Amazon because it has like that face that you recognize.
It has
right?
a brand that you trust, that you have seen
exactly.
over and over again.
So, you know, as you build out your buyers list and you're doing this disposition and you're doing this marketed material, this branded material that people are seeing on a regular basis in their emails or texts or whatever, and they're becoming more familiar with you. And all of a sudden there's someone that's going to buy one house this year, and they have a choice of buying one from you with your branded company that they're comfortable with, or, you know, freaking Cody, the wholesaler, the random wholesaler who sent him one. Who are they going to pick? They're going to pick you.
Yep.
Right. They're going to trust you more. Like, you have better rapport. You have a better brand that they're familiar with.
And like a lot of the stuff, you know, people think has to be in absolute terms. It's not. Like, every seller's not the same. Like, sometimes the seller's going to go through the whole stack of mailers and call every single person. But that's fine, because everybody's getting that phone call. It's that seller that's only calling you that gives you the competitive edge that lets you build a business faster. That's faster, stronger.
Yeah, exactly. And nothing's perfect, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, if you can do something that gets you an extra 1%, 2% of opportunities,
an extra deal a month. I mean, that could take you from being, you know, break even to profitable, or have it so that you can buy that sweet boat you've wanted. I don't know.
Right.
Whatever honestly, your goal is with your business.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Or even, you know, on like the dispo side of it, right? If people are that much more comfortable and you go from getting 2 people that are interested in your deal to 10, like, that's a huge opportunity for you to be able to have more secure cash flow coming in, you know, being able to dispo at higher prices, all those sort of things. So
that's a whole nother topic, probably maybe another episode of just disposition marketing, because it's a challenging thing.
I know, especially these days, it's been getting more challenging. So so when it comes to building that brand, though, as the market's down, you know, and the market's increasing like it has in the past couple of years, the bulk of your time should have been spent talking to sellers, pursuing opportunities, and all that sort of stuff. Now that the market's down, like, there's going to be less stuff going around. You can go and keep beating your head against the wall and trying to get these opportunities, which you probably still will, but it's a great time to sort of slow down, step back, and start building out this part of your business. Because tell you what, if stuff does start to tank and start to go a little bit weird, the people that have that established are going to wreck the onesie twosie people that don't have a track record.
Yep. Totally.
You know, it's going to be an absolute no-brainer of a difference.
The one thing too, before we sign off here, because I know we only got a few minutes left, but I did want to talk about something that you're really good about is building your brand within your peer group, within your local market, whether you live there or not, but like within that local investing farm market that you're in.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want me to talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, we got a few minutes left. Like, talk about how you do it, how you go about it, the importance of it, because it can seemingly be something you don't worry about and you just work in a silo. But what makes your business successful, honestly, is the peers you work with, especially in an off-market business, because you sometimes are selling properties to your competitors, or they can help sell properties for you. I mean, there's just so many things that we do interact with our local competition on, and local other investors, I should say, rather, or that people that work within that investor space.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, okay, that's what you're saying. Yeah, so that's valid. And we do a lot of JV stuff like that. I mean, even just a few weeks ago, we did a JV deal with one of our competitors, actually, where we split like a $65,000 fee.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we helped them get the deal done. They basically paid us $32,500 to do that. Yep. So, like, the best way to go about it, and that is something else that's kind of interesting, is there will be these people that go and build these fancy brands and all the swag and all that sort of stuff, but they don't really do anything. When you're working in your peer group, you need to have that brand recognition to sort of get people's attention. But ultimately what they need to see is they need to see you taking action and actually walking the walk.
Taking action is huge.
Yeah, exactly. Because the real movers and shakers out there doing stuff, they're gonna, you know, see right through any sort of BS that you have. And one thing I would say is, if you are new and you're trying to establish that, don't talk a bunch of bullshit.
Right.
Like just say like, hey, I'm trying to figure this out. This is what I want to do. And just like, you know,
be honest.
Show some humility. Say that you're being, and just be honest
I think
about
be
it.
honest.
And people will be confident.
And I think that's another piece about your brand as you establish it. Like, don't try to do things that are weird. Don't try to do things that are shady. Like, just be, you know, a good local business person and a good person in your peer group. And when there's opportunity for you to take advantage of somebody, don't do it. Like, because I mean, there is opportunity where you might be able to sell deals for a little bit more money, and or you do certain things, or you tell somebody, you tell them a deal is a little bit better than it is, and then that person finds out that it wasn't, and there was squatters in the basement, all sorts of stuff. Like, it's easy to do that, but don't do it, because eventually nobody's going to want to work with you, and your name will go. I mean, we have investors in our local market that nobody wants to do work with.
Yeah.
You know, they don't trust them.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, all it takes is one situation of that, and it'll burn the bridges with everyone, especially because word travels fast. And not only that too, but if you're trying to, you know, not being like a poser in your immediate area, but also don't do that on social media with your immediate people being able to see
don't
it.
advertise
I mean,
things.
Tons of people like that too.
Oh man.
Yeah, we know tons of people too who like they give this fake sort of charade of how awesome that they're doing because they did like 1 or 2 deals because that's like their focus. They want to make all these TikTok videos, but then everyone in their community that knows them direct is like, oh no, they're not doing shit.
Yeah, exactly.
And the problem is that sort of reputation sticks with you. Even if they did turn around and start doing well, there's still the people that are just dancing on TikTok when they should be, you know, out
grinding, right? Yeah. And the other thing is it makes you, it just puts a fracture in what people's perception of your honesty is. And so they're going to do business with you at an arm's length, if at all.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, point being, like, when it comes to that local group, I mean, walkers, like people who are walking the walk, are going to do much better. And then, you know, you can use that brand to sort of get people's attention, but then you got to be able to show results as well, or else, you know, it's going to be pointless.
Be honest and work with them, and be there to help them out when they need it. Those sorts of things. At you know, we're like at a you know, any notice somebody calls and says, "Hey, do you have a connection for this?" Absolutely. Let me share it with you. Like, let me help you out. And being overly helpful to people, that's part of your brand. And just being, I think, an honest business person is part of your brand, because that will come and save your butt someday. Because it's saved our butt a few times just by being good, upstanding people, and working with others.
Exactly. It's all about reputation. I mean, real estate more than anything else is pretty much all about who you know. So
to people.
Perfect. Cool. All right, guys. Well, that's it for today. Some things coming in, I guess this week on Friday. We're going to be trying a new segment. It's basically going to be we haven't come up with a name for it yet, but like our Friday brain dump, like thought of the week sort of
Friday
thing.
key of the week.
A short episode. Key of the week. I mean, we might need to run with that, man.
Weekly key. The weekly key. I don't know.
The weekly key. So it's going to be either by Dan or I. It's going to be just a short 5 or 8 minute solo show where we talk about something that's particularly going on in the news, or like a specific topic or a thought we had or something like that. Just so you can get a little more insight on our views on things that are going on. So look for that coming up on Fridays. And besides that, guys, go and follow us on Instagram. I am at Mike_invest. Dan is at InvestorMan Dan. If you want to learn about how we have built our brand, you know, how we market our business, how we have built this business that's still doing okay with like all the weird market stuff going on, go check us out at theinstantinvestorprogram.com and apply and see if you'll be a good fit for our coaching program. We have a good little community over there going on right now, and some people I feel like people are starting to, you know, even with the ups and downs, they're doing all right. It's always a little bit of a different thing when we have a couple people that are like fresh, and they're starting to get a little shaky. But a couple of you are still getting after it. One of them's dumpling down pretty good. So instantinvestorprogram.com, go and check it out. And besides that, please go and share the show with anyone who would be interested, and go and subscribe to us on wherever you listen to your podcast. So besides that, anything else, Dan?
No, that's it. I was waiting. I was going to start you making an awkward silence. I don't, you know, yeah, I'm tired. I'm tired this week. I've been, you know, this new baby's been killing me. So, I'm officially signing off for the week. We'll see you guys next week.
All right. That's a defeated man right there. It's also been picking up for my gallivanting ass going around the country while you were
it's just waking up at 3 a.m. every day has got me. Sorry, audience. I'll give you more next week. I promise.
Yeah, and that next week when the child is more
grown, it'll be a week old. Hey, that's a big difference for all you parents out there. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, realistically, that's what probably another 20% of its life at this point.
A little bit, 20% older.
Yeah. That's like a mainstream media news statistic. My baby is 20% older this week than last week.
Babies aging 20% faster than adults.
Yeah, right. I think we got another career in news headlines. All right.
See y'all next week.
Have a good week.
Thanks for listening. Please leave us a review on iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. And check us out at collectingkeyspodcast.com for tips and guides on starting your own real estate investment and wholesaling business.